Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your Wellbeing and Safety Blueprint. My name's Carli Phillips. It's my pleasure to co-host alongside Bill Carson today. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Carli. Fantastic to
Hi.
be here.
Yeah, it is. Welcome, everybody. Jump into the chat. Feel free to introduce yourself. Let us know where you're dialing in from today. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land. I am dialing in today from the land of the Bunurong and the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. They are custodians of these lands and waters. And today we actually come together in this online forum in a way that reflects long-held traditions by coming together, learning and sharing in a community. We carry forward the spirit of respect, reflection, and collective growth, including those of us with lived experience and the caring of those with mental ill health. We value the courage of those who share their unique perspective for the greater good. What can you expect today in our Blueprint workshop? I'm going to give you 7 elements of the Wellbeing and Safety Blueprint. I'm going to start by asking how many people on the call have already downloaded your workbook? Good morning to Lyndall. Hi, Lyndall. Lyndall's in the background. She's going to pop the link in the chat for us. If anyone needs to download the workbook, you can do that now. Just letting some more people in through the waiting room. Can I just ask everybody to pop yourselves on mute so we don't have too much background noise, and feel free to jump into the chat, say hello. Thanks, Lyndall's put the workbook link in there. So options for the workbook are you can either download it and print it out. I've got a copy of the workbook here in my hand. Or it is actually an editable digital document. So if you want to have a second screen going and do something fancy, you can fill it out as we go through today's session. You'll be able to leave at the end of the workshop with your blueprint workbook filled out and ready to go. We are also going to give you wellbeing tools. You will get all of the tools sent over to you in your inbox today. And the format that we're going to run today's workshop in is a completely interactive format. The chat is up and running, so use that for questions, for ideas, for comments. And we're also going to have time for Q&A at the end of each case study. And we've got 4 fantastic guest speakers coming today to do that. And there'll be a Q&A at the end as well. I just want to see how many people have got the workbook up and running. Can you just give me a yes in the chat so I can see you've got your workbook? Thanks, Jessica, Shell, Lynn, Karen, Nat. Okay. Any questions? Anyone? Yes, Antoinette, there's a link in the chat from Lyndall. Maybe Lyndall, let's pop it in again so it's right up the top of the chat for everybody. You can just use it as a digital document, fill it out, or feel free to print it out. We're actually going to work through the entire workbook today. Everyone else has got their workbook ready to go, which is great. Okay, these are the 4 fabulous guest speakers that we have coming today who are going to be sharing their own experience within their workplace of either the entire 7 elements of the blueprint or parts of the blueprint. We always get lots of positive feedback about guest speakers and case studies. So I'm really thrilled to be able to bring you 4 different organisations today to share this with you. I want to ask you a question to get started with today's workshop. And the first question is, does anyone ever feel stuck? maybe this picture is a bit more seasonally relevant. I talk to people every day from organizations and I say, tell me about your wellbeing program, tell me about your safety program. And a really common response that I hear is, I don't know where to start. I feel stuck. I feel frozen. I actually haven't started one or the other. So, my question to you is, what does this feel like? Jump into the chat. Just give me a word. If you are kind of at that stage, thank you, Stacey. I assume that's very stuck. What does this feel like for you right now? Before we start working through the blueprint, what does this feel like right at the start when we are stuck? What word comes to mind? Jump into the chat and let us know. Incapacitating, frustrating. What next? Thank you, Charlotte, Clint, Antoinette. Overwhelming, confused. Yep. Spinning wheels but not going anywhere. I can certainly relate to that comment. Pressure, dead end, stressful. Okay. What about this one? Anyone ever feel like this? This can be my whole life sometimes. This can be not having a strategy. This is last minute. This is very rushed. This is very reactive. This is kind of the ad hoc wellbeing program or the ad hoc safety program or the kind of disjointed wellbeing and safety program. These are the companies that say, oh, yeah, we have a wellbeing program. We do Are You OK Day, or we have an EAP, but there's actually no kind of forward planning. So, what does this one feel like? Let me know. This is the one you're thinking of, Antoinette, all over the shop. Don't you love the picture on the steering wheel? There's one just to remind you to breathe and breathe while you're doing a million other things. What does this one feel like? These are people who often call in mental health month, like during October, and say, can you come this week? I just want to give everyone the heads up that September and October book out. So you need to forward plan your wellbeing program well and truly for September and October. Now, I get it. If this is you, I totally get that well-being often sits with people who are double hatting. Yes, Shell, good intentions, but no resources, or perhaps no time, trying to put out a big fire with a small bucket of water. Snolleen, overwhelmed, don't know where to start. How many people on the call are right now double hatting? Just give me a yes if you're double hatting. I actually see this all the time. Look at all the yeses that come up. So often the wellbeing leads are actually doing a safety role and the wellbeing program, or they're doing an HR role and the wellbeing program. And all those really important triple hatting, Charlotte, oh my goodness. 10 hats for me. This is not good. It's not a competition, people. We need to be getting down to one. There's a lot double hatting. So when you are in a very reactive role and you are caring for people, I understand how well-being and your strategic plan goes to the bottom of your list, right? What I want to do today is I want to move us into a place where we can feel like this guy. This guy has got it all under control. He is not stuck or anxious or scattered. He is calm and confident. So I hope that today's workshop can really make you fill out your complete blueprint that is going to be unique to your organization. Now, today we've got a couple of hours together, and I want to thank each and every one of you. We've got 40 people on the call so far for dedicating 2 hours of your day to this workshop. This is a protected window of time if you can protect it. So please set yourself up for success. If you need to close doors, go into a separate room. If you need to close your email or your Teams running in the background so you don't get distracted by those little things. What word would describe how you would like to feel at the end of this workshop? What is the one word that you would want to feel if you're like this human with his feet up on the desk? How do you want to feel at the end of this workshop? Let me know in the chat. Purposeful, chilled, confident, under control, confident, empowered to get support from company decision makers. Stacey, we're going to talk about that today. Thank you. Ready, like there's a plan, organized. Okay, fantastic. By way of a formal introduction, I want to let you know that I used to be the wellbeing lead at Johnson & Johnson. When I was there and I was leading wellbeing, we actually had the privilege of winning the best health and wellbeing program for the year 2020. So it was a lovely place to work. I've absolutely seen the best of the best when it comes to employee wellbeing. I have also been the employee who burnt out badly. And it actually happened while I had really good intentions, caring for others and doing this role of looking after other people. And it's a trap that I have noticed a lot of people in our roles fall into. People who are in HR, wellbeing, and work health and safety, where our job is to care for others. And we give,
Well-being
and we
and
give,
safety.
and we give.
I don't understand the well-being and safety. Where's
Can I just
well-being?
ask everyone to mute your line, please? Thank you so much. That's wonderful. And when we can always be on and always be available, we actually put ourselves at high risk of burnout. Let me just mute everybody. People like Bill will need to unmute yourself when you want to talk. I'm just going to mute everyone for the time being. So, if you are someone who genuinely cares about your people, you are spending all of your time looking after the safety and health of well-being of your people. I could understand if you are feeling overwhelmed or you are feeling exhausted or you're double hatting, triple hatting, or wearing 10 hats like somebody just told us. I really hope the blueprint today can take some of that weight off your shoulders so that you can feel calm and confident and empowered in some of those lovely words. Once leaving Johnson & Johnson the last 4 or 5 years, I have been running Corporate Wellbeing Hub. And along with my team, we have been speaking at lots of different conferences and summits. I lead research for the government in wellbeing in primary industry. I host wellbeing events by CWH. I do a lot of keynote speaking, and I just get so much joy from working with all of our clients across Australia, watching companies build wellbeing programs from the ground up. Right now, I take this blueprint and I take this strategic planning and I do it within my own business. I do two things really seriously. I take my self-care as an absolute priority and I forward plan and I strategic plan absolutely everything in advance. And the reason why I do this is because I am also the carer for my parents. This is my mum and dad. They came to see me last month when I was speaking at a conference. My dad lives with dementia and my mum lives with Parkinson's. And so I care for them. And I'm a parent of teenagers and I'm running a business, right? So it is absolutely critical that I look after my self-care and that I have everything really well planned out and really strategic so that I can care for others. If you want to be a wellbeing champion and you want to genuinely help people as well, I believe we can all do this. I've seen so many examples of people who have just put their hand up and they've said, I want to be a wellbeing champion, irrelevant of the role that they're in. I've seen so many people do this. I've seen the joy it brings, the meaning it brings, the sense of reward. It's really a sense of purpose, of the greater good. And today, I really hope I can either start you on this journey or we can move you along the journey, no matter where you are today. Let's get started with the Wellbeing and Safety Blueprint. We are going to dive into elements 1, 2, and 3. Please grab your workbook or use your digital copy. We're going to start right at the beginning on page 1. We have Julia Tees joining us first thing this morning, who's going to give us an example of what their company did as they worked through the first 3 elements. So let's dive in to element 1 and get started. Number 1, deeply understand your people. This is about psychosocial hazards. We know WorkSafe Victoria regulations, they're the last state in Australia to bring their regulations in. They're commencing in December of this year. So every single state in Australia will have the psychosocial safety laws in place. I want to reiterate that you can't fix what you can't see. So it's very important that you start with the psychosocial hazard audit, which is a survey. The one that we recommend is the People at Work survey. There is actually a code on the screen now that takes you to the code of practice. It's got absolutely everything you need in there. If you are one of those people at the start who said, I am stuck, start here. This is where you start. Thank you. Lyndall's just popped the link to the code of practice into the chat as well. So these are the tools that will be really helpful to get you started. The code of practice, definitely download that and have a read. Use the People at Work survey. It's completely free. It is also evidence-based and it's really good to use. The link for People at Work is in the chat. Thank you, Lyndall. And when you get your report from doing the audit, it actually has all of the links built into it for your action plan. It's easier than you think. And we're going to hear from Julia in a minute to show us how they actually implemented the audit in their workplace. So in your workbook, on page 1, you'll just fill out element 1 is deeply understand your people for psychosocial hazards. And if you want to make any notes or links in there about things that will help you, feel free to do that. And then under action plan, if there's something here that you haven't done, just write a very short, succinct and doable action plan. It might be to download the code of practice. It might be to set up your People at Work survey. So fill out your action plan. So at the end of the session, you've got a really obvious action plan ready to go and ready to implement. Element number 2 is to protect against the risks. So what the code of practice actually recommends is using an external facilitator to run the focus groups. Focus groups do something really important. They take your hazards, which is a piece of data, it's a metric, and they actually assess how high the risk is. So what we recommend doing is actually doing your focus group with the results from your survey and do a little bit of co-design. So Bill Carson in our team's been doing a lot of focus groups, and we'll hear from Bill shortly, bringing people into the room and saying, what does this mean for you? Because we know the hazards and the risks mean something completely different. And to protect people against those risks, we need to do 2 things. We need to do top-down actions, which might be the policies, looking at job design, looking at procedures. But we also need to do ground up actions, which might be training people in some of the identified risks, like bullying and how to have safe conversations. So in the appendix on the code of practice, I just want to give you a little piece of gold that we have been reading. And that is that in the appendix of the code of practice, they actually have example control measures. They're already written out. So what that means is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's got examples in there for job design, environment, management, and employees, which is fantastic. So in your workbook, element 2 is to protect against risks. Just fill out in your action plan anything that is missing so far to make sure you have fulfilled element number 2. Question in the chat, is the survey just for the wellbeing manager to do on behalf of the company or sent out to all employees? It's sent out for all employees. When you've got more than 20 employees in your organisation, you send it out to everybody, and you can do small groups at a time, or you can categorise the groups. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. I should have just read your comment, Bill. That's exactly what I was trying to get to. Thank you for that question. And element number 3 is to support employees who are struggling. I want to let you know that having an EAP is not a strategy. It's just nowhere near enough to be able to support employees who are struggling. If you have an EAP, fantastic. I've still met some companies who haven't, so it's absolutely critical to have one. Please make sure you've saved the phone number for EAP in your phone and that you've tried it out. I am surprised how many people who are in our roles have not actually picked up the phone and heard what happens and experienced the triage process and what it's actually like. Just do it as a part of your role, just to experience that, so that you can say, this is exactly what happens when you pick up the phone and you ring them. Make sure everyone's got the phone number. Same with mental health first aiders. Make sure their photos are up next to your physical first aiders up in your workplace. Make sure you've got the basics of EAP, mental health first aiders, safe conversation skills training, so people know how to have these conversations in a safe way, and that you've got at least burnout prevention strategies in place, top down or ground up. These are kind of the basics I would consider when we are supporting employees from the ground up. Who is involved at this stage? Let's just think about the first 3 elements that we have covered. We are already beyond work health and safety. We have already included HR, L&D, wellbeing leads, executive support, team leaders, and even all employees in the audit and in the co-design focus groups. So as we go through this blueprint, it's going to be really important to make sure we identify the roles and responsibilities of all the people who can contribute across the entire organisation. 1, that's going to reduce your stress a lot. And 2, it's going to help to fit wellbeing and safety together so it actually flows through your entire organisation. We're going to do a snapshot right at the end of every internal stakeholder, so you can take that piece of paper and your blueprint back to your organisation and say, right, these are the people we need to make sure we've got a really good strategic approach. Guess what? When you've done 1, 2, 3, you are already legally compliant. So you have identified your hazards, you have assessed your risks, and you have some sort of action plan in place. This is what the safe work inspectors are going to ask you for when they come out into your workplace. Have a look at your workbook We should be on page 2 now. We should have filled out elements 1, 2, and 3. And if you've got any actions, they should be written in your action plan underneath. This 1, 2, and 3 is the absolute bare minimum required, but I do want to take it further. I do want to take it into a very strategic place where we can fit wellbeing and safety together so it actually flows all of the way through. Charlotte, what is the recommendation for the number of mental health first aiders per number of employees? Bill, is there a recommended number from Mental Health First Aid Australia? While you're answering that question, what we recommend with criteria for selecting your mental health first aiders is to make sure we have at least one mental health first aider per team or per site. So you want really good distribution of mental health first aiders across your organisation. One of the tools I'm going to be giving you at the end of the workshop today, I keep going to say workshop, is actually criteria for selecting your wellbeing champions. And you can use the same criteria for selecting your mental health first aiders. So I'll share that with you as a way of actually setting up your mental health first aiders if you're just starting that process. Thank you for that question. Bill says, Charlotte, it varies depending on the total full-time numbers. Provide to Carli and she can send to you. Beautiful. Thank you. Bill's going to give us that and I'll send it over to you, Charlotte, and you'll also get the expression of interest template with the criteria built into it. So I hope that will be helpful for you. Julia, are you on the call somewhere? I think I saw you down.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, good
Hey.
morning.
Good
I am
morning.
now really happy to introduce Julia Tees as our first guest speaker today from Tees Australia. Julia, I've kind of gone through elements 1, 2, and 3, but we would love to hear this journey from your perspective. And I just want to invite everybody to, while Julia's here, ask her questions, pop them into the chat while she's talking. She's offered to answer those questions for us as well. Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Carli. So I might start back a couple of years ago when we kind of started talking about this journey of ensuring that we've got good strategies in place for mental health and wellbeing across our business. And I guess for us, we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. We recognized that early on that we weren't providing our managers and supervisors with the tools to be able to have conversations with their employees and with their workers. So what we did, we reached out to Carli and Bill, and we started the journey along the safe conversations and mental health first aid training. It wasn't until, Carli, maybe 6 months into that, we kind of started having the conversation about, well, do we actually know that we're targeting the right areas and the right people? And are we actually targeting what we actually think that we're targeting? And we felt that we kind of started this process back the front. And it's kind of, we sit back now and go, we actually did start it back the front. We should have started at understanding our people and understanding where those risks were. So again, we started this whole process of, well, how do we, we've got so many people across our business, we've got so many different departments, so many different nationalities, experiences. How do we actually understand where our risks lie? And how do we ensure that we're actually targeting, those risks and mitigating those risks? So we did, we took one of our plants, which was 1,000 employees, and we thought we'd start the process of implementing and putting out the people at work survey. And that was actually a really good process. It was a bit daunting at the start when, Carli, Bill and I were talking about running a survey, and I was like, surveys within our business haven't really gone down too successfully. But this was a really easy process to to start. We allocated 2 weeks to try and get as many people participating in that survey as possible. We put posters up. We did some really good comms with our managers and supervisors to start encouraging people and ensuring that people were aware of the process and the reasons behind the process. And we had posters in lunchrooms. But I think the key thing for us was we didn't want to incentivize it, but we also wanted to make sure that we were targeting the right people. So we had our managers and supervisors allocate time within their workers' workday to be able to get them out off the line. And we've got a very production-based business, off the line to spend as much time as they needed in a closed environment to get the survey done. So it was like 10, 15 minutes out of their workday where they could sit down in front of a computer, and we had some workstations set up to try and get as many participants as possible. And we got a really good participation rate. I think we were up around 85, 90% of our workforce participated in that survey. And that provided us with then the information that we needed to go, okay, well, these are our risk areas, and this is what we actually need to target. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, it was different to what we thought. So here we were right at the start of our journey going, all right, well, we need to target these areas. Once we understood our workers a little bit more through these surveys, then we were able to really have some good conversations with managers and supervisors and also workers. So we started with some focus groups. Bill ran some focus groups for us at one of our facilities. Again, just to unpack some of those results that were coming out of the survey. And when you get the survey results back, you get a comprehensive report and you get a bit of a summary report. And we use that to base those focus groups off. The feedback that we got out of those focus groups was really positive. Not only from the surveys were such an easy process for my team to be able to, put together and to get people to participate, but the feedback that we got out of the focus groups was also very positive. And once we started to unpack where those risks were and have those conversations, we could then get general managers involved, and we could get senior leaders involved in those conversations to get them on board as well. And again, this has been part of our strategy for the last 12 months and going forward. We've also had a number of different audits. We've had inspectors on site. So a few months ago, we had an inspector come to one of our plants, specifically focusing on psychosocial risks. We went through then the people at work survey, what we've done. We went through our strategic plan that Carli and Bill helped us develop, and it was all very positive. So if I can recommend anything, it's one is to start understanding your workforce and using that people at work survey. It was so easy for me and my team. Again, I was a little bit, it was a little bit daunting to start with because I just thought surveys and people and trying to get results, but it's a very easy process. And yeah, we've got our strategic plan in place now, moving forward, more focus groups, more understanding of our workers, just ensuring that we're targeting the right areas and the right risks.
Thank you, Julia. Any questions for Julia? Jump into the chat and pop them in there. Julia, I'm so surprised to hear you say I was daunted, because you were one of the leaders and the companies who went, right, you did one meeting with us, you had your audit out, we met again in 2 weeks, you had all the data, you had the report, you had your action plan. It seems so quick and easy, the whole process from end to end.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have management support as well. I think that makes it a lot easier when you're trying to implement something like this and you don't have any barriers. It's everyone's kind of working as a team. But for us, we've got a number of different abattoirs around different areas of Australia, and we kind of also use it as a competition for playing off plants against plants. You know, one plant gets 90% participation rate, so you know another plant kind of needs to get 91%. But it certainly helps with having management support.
Yeah, that's a question in the chat. What is your engagement like for the people at work survey? So it's up in the 80s, kind of 90s, that sort of area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think if we didn't have that, sorry, Bill, if we didn't have that, if we just put posters up at our facilities and just encourage people to participate, I have absolutely no doubt we would have had under 30% participation rate. We found that, you know, on people's lunch breaks, they don't want to sit there on their phone doing a wellbeing survey, scrolling Facebook or something like that. But to get them out of their job for 10, 15, and some took 40 minutes to do a 10-minute survey, it didn't worry us at all. It was more about getting that information out of our workforce to assist us, to help us in the journey.
Yeah, great. Kerry, yeah, it's fine to use any platform or provider or survey that you like. The only reason we're putting people at work up there is because it is created by Safe Work Australia. It is evidence-based, it is free, it is just a really easy one that we recommend, but feel free to go and explore other surveys. It's certainly not a requirement that you use that particular survey. Any questions for Julia before we thank her and farewell? Thank you, Julia. Totally inspiring.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for sharing your journey. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks.
Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Bill. I'll hand over to you now.
Okay, so yeah, thanks, Julie. Thanks, Carli. So if we look at the obligations of the person conducting the business unit, in other words, this is the guidelines from Safe Work Australia related to it's in the model code of practice in relation to what is required. It's fundamentally, for anyone who's been in safety for a while, it's exactly the same for psychosocial safety as it is for physical safety. So if you imagine a manufacturing plant or a site, first of all, you got to identify the hazards, talk to all the staff. Secondly, move to then assess the risks. If you move to the second slide, please, Carli. Discuss the results with your staff. And then thirdly, control the risks. And so this is what we generally are encouraging. And Julia, as you heard, has done that work with 2 plants so far, which has gone really, really well. Just as an example of the difference where Julia's really got very good involvement. One regional council some time ago just put it out there to everybody, and often in regional councils you often have the outside staff, the operations crew having a different perspective on life than the admin crew, and they only had a 39% overall engagement rate. So it's useful to be really selective and actually prime the groups that you work with. So in that particular council, there were 2 of the 6 leaders who were in favour of the work, and it would have been more effective to have worked with their divisions first because they're keen. Because as we saw there, Julia shared, when there's keenness, then it can be followed through. Alrighty, so what we've been identifying and finding is that some clients find it really too difficult to initially do the audit because of the enormous complexities, but they know that there's significant risks and hazards that are in play. So just very quickly, we're going to look at 3 examples here. Number 1 is a regional council, and they've started to have in the last 12 months double-digit growth in their psychological injury claims, which is obviously incredibly not good. We're going to look at a manufacturing plant, and I'll go into that in a moment, and then in food processing. So let's first of all look at the regional council. So in the last 12 months, And if you turn the slide here, please, Carli. In the last 12 months, what's happened is that there's, as I said, yeah, they've had double-digit number of psychological injury claims. So one of the ways to have a perspective on how people are showing up at work is through Gallup's work. Gallup have been doing these global surveys, and this is Australian data, Australian New Zealand data. And they've essentially got these three categories, what they call thriving, disengaged, and actively disengaged. So I call them succeeding, stressing, and struggling. And the numbers there, so the downward arrow last year in 24 when they did this, so this is, as you can see, April 2025, the succeeding numbers were 25%, so that's come down a little bit, and we got 65 and 12. And the Australian Bureau of Statistics, because I teach a lot of mental health first aid workshops, and people who are struggling are at around about the 21.4% of people. So next slide, please, Carli. So the real people at risk here are the people who are stressing and those who are really struggling and suffering from significant diagnosable potential mental health challenges. And the amber group, often we get high turnover, and the red group, often absenteeism is high. And just broadly, you know, there's no specific absolute science around this at the moment, but the amber group are generally about 75% productive, effectively productive, and the other about 50%. So next slide, please, Carli. So what happens is that the amber and red groups are the highest risk group for psychosocial risks, or the hazards, and then the risk associated with the hazards. So in these two groups, they're either the bullies or they're being bullied. Excessive workloads, low job control, poor change management. Because what happens is that when people are experiencing a lot of potential challenges that are happening outside of work, such as relationship challenges or health of children or health of parents, or one of the partners doesn't have a job. Those kinds of complexities put a lot of pressure on existing high base loads of stress and create a lot more risk with the hazard. So if we look at the next slide, please, Carli. So one of the things that if we look at use the emotion scale as a way of kind of having a lens to look at what's going on here. People in the green zone generally have good mental health. They're, you know, generally, if you're looking after yourself well, you've got good contentment and happiness and optimism and all those kinds of things. Whereas when we're struggling with diagnosable mental emotional challenges, it can start from kind of fairly benign kind of things like boredom and pessimism and frustration and impatience. But if there's a lot of underlying trauma, adverse childhood, trauma conditions and things like that, then that just spirals down into anger, revenge and hatred, and jealousy, insecurity, unworthiness, fear, depression, powerlessness, victim, suicidal thoughts. And so if we look at the next slide, please, Carli, and we kind of map the emotion scale across just broadly where people are. So people in the green zone, they're in, you know, a good place. People in the amber zone, they're kind of struggling with variable degrees of kind of mental health challenges. And then people in the amber region are kind of really struggling a lot more. And it's when leaders and managers are having to deal with underperformers in the red region, that it's incredibly difficult for you know, a complex range of reasons. And what this council have been experiencing is just that and often not just them, but I've heard quite a few people these days say, you know, employees are weaponizing mental health. And one of the really interesting challenges that's happening is that as we're breaking down the stigmas associated with mental health, then vicariously what's happening is that then people with their own mental health challenges are now putting their hand up and saying, hey, look, I have mental health challenges in one form or another, anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a kind of a challenging environment. And so the skill set that's needed by managers and supervisors handling each of these groups of people is different. So, you know, when people are in the green zone, happy days, you know, they just love their work, and you can have a growth conversation with them, and it's like, give me more, and I love it. In the amber region, people, managers, supervisors need safe conversation skills, which are fundamentally empathy skills, teaching empathy and empowering skills plus growth. And then in the with people who are really struggling, managers will get a lot of pushback, and they also need skills. They need some awareness around being trauma informed, and then so safe growth, managing pushback, and also a very delicate way in which you create personal accountability. So that's kind of the skill set. So we've been running we've started to run psychosocial safety leadership training, which incorporates both the missing skill set of psychosocial safety, because most managers and supervisors are very good at having task-focused conversations, but they actually need person-centered conversations skills. And Carli, if we look at the next slide, the safe conversation skills are teaching self-awareness on the part of the manager and awareness of the other. And then the really important skills to acknowledge and reflect feelings. This is super important as part of creating safety, capacity, knowing, you know, what questions to ask, how to ask them, you know, the importance of tonality, of course, focusing on listening, and a really important theme around empowering. And so quite a lot of managers, you know, often they get defensive, understandably. It's like, I don't want to be creating a nanny state and, you know, taking on all other people's emotional stuff. And that's really, really important. We teach the incredible importance of looking after yourself emotionally, but it's really important to then empower, or it's more about helping the other person to develop their own self-awareness around their own situation and get the help they need. So this is really helpful in early intervention, underperformance, alcohol, drugs, burnout, etc., return to work, and building performance. So it's really important in those areas. And next slide, please, Carli. And then the growth model, many people would be familiar with GROW. It's a pretty classic coaching model. It's been around for a really long time. But adding the elements of, next slide, please, Carli, of tensions and health is actually encouraging the manager, team leader, supervisor to be very mindful of discussing any emotional or relational obstacles, what could derail the plans, what concerns and doubts that you have, and then checking in on well-being. And this is really important because managers need to be upskilling their capacity to have feelings-based conversations because they don't want to, you know, often don't want to go there and are afraid and can't, you know, don't know how to handle it and all that kind of stuff. But it's a really super important skill set. We're not teaching them to be therapists. We're teaching them to have the skills to be able to handle these situations and ultimately guiding the other person to their own self-awareness. Now, you know, there's a number of business cases around this, and one particular situation happened where a manager had a team member come to him and say, hey, look, he'd been having some performance conversations. Anyway, this employee, I'll just use general name, Alan Alicia, came to the manager and said, I want to put in a bullying claim against another employee, Jack. And fortunately, this manager had the safe conversation skills training. And so he was able to have the conversation with Alan Alicia to kind of, and just wasn't just one conversation, it was a couple of conversations to help Alan Alicia to get an understanding of what was going on for them. Created then a safety and an understanding around using the EAP, because most EAP usage is really low for a whole range of reasons. And so this person had a couple of EAP sessions and then kind of realized that, hey, you know, part of my stresses at work are because I'm going through a divorce, and hadn't put two and two together. So had that realization, took some personal accountability, did some work on themselves, settled down, and were not having issues with Jack anymore. So in that classic example, you just saved a stress leave and bullying claim. They're generally around 30 to upwards of 50, 80K these days, possibly lose the employee. Total cost around 60 to 80K. Got to be solved by training in psychosocial safety leadership, which is $400 a supervisor. So that's one example with a regional council. Very quickly, I'll just mention now another example with a manufacturing plan. Now, in this manufacturing plan, one of the things that's not uncommon in manufacturing plants, because I grew up working in them, I'm originally a metallurgist by training, is that there's a lot of blue-collar workers who are not very happy. And this particular work health and safety manager in a plant and a very well-known brand and company in Australia recognized that he would just get plastered in terms of the hazards. There would just be way too many hazards, way too many risks. So what we decided to do was to create awareness for the workers, for the blue-collar workers and the managers ahead of time, just to get these people to start to be more aware. And this is a huge problem that I see, that vast numbers of employees have kind of their own mental health challenges, and without any awareness around it, literacy around it, without being educated around it, what are they going to do? They're going to blame the company. So next slide, please, Carli. So as said, a lot of those guys were in that kind of category. Next slide, please, Carli. So what we've done is three things in their plan over the last couple of years. Number one is train the supervisors and managers to see the signs and guide their employees, and that's through the safe conversation skills. And then we've been run a couple of sessions on safety days around training the staff to see their own signs. So one of the fundamental things that we're teaching here is around their stress reactivity, and then also around just fundamental things like where do you place your focus? Most people place their focus on what they don't have rather than what they do have. So they constantly moan and complain. And so introducing the importance of gratitude. And then thirdly, training the team. So we did above and below the line behaviors around the team being aware of looking after each other. So the context for this is, if you look at the safety triangle, and that's physical safety, so we got near misses to minor injuries, serious, and then workplace fatalities. So the equivalent in the psychological, psychosocial space is that what will be showing up as near misses and so forth is stress reactivity, anger, complaining, anxiety, withdrawal, and then the psychosocial hazards. Most managers are trained to see near misses. Managers need to be able to see in a sense, the near misses, the stress reactivity. And then so the logic here is, next slide, please, Carli, is teaching the managers safe and growth conversation skills so they can see the signs and have the conversations before they get out of control. Teach the staff personal safety. And then if you have an escalation program of mental health first aid and EAPs, that's how that all fits together. So that's that one. And then just finally, what that summarizes that. If we look at the third example, please, Carli, the food processing plant, which is essentially what you heard from Julia. A really good strategy there is that they've put in place is to have safe conversation skills for the managers and supervisors. So this is essentially 3 hours plus 2 hours, because most managers don't want to do 12-hour mental health first aids. And then having HR, work health and safety, nurses, employee support, they're doing the 12-hour mental health first aid. So you have a really good kind of escalation framework in place in those examples. So that's enough for me, Carli.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? Pop them in the chat. We've got a minute or so. He can answer questions for you. One of them was about multilingual surveys. There are some providers offering that at a cost. If anyone knows of any really good multilingual surveys, pop them in the chat and we will share those with Jessica. Any other questions about this part? So we've covered elements 1, 2, and 3 so far. Okay. We are going to take a very short break for a couple of minutes. If you need to grab a water, have a stretch, do that. We're going to be back here in 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. So feel free to take time to do that now.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, the spring is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street, but not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? I saw us disregard a broken bottle top and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the window, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If they wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Na, 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 na. I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it. Moving so phenomenally. I'm on like the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't need control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. 'Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it. Moving so phenomenally. I'm on like the way we rock it, so don't stop that. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. Break it down. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body.
Okay, Tina wants the video. If you jump into YouTube, I'd usually just type in short break or brain break. There are so many fantastic short videos in there. Tina, send me an email and I'll send you the link for that one. Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to welcome Carri on today. We are about to dive into element number 4. So if you grab your workbook, we are now on page 2 of your workbook. Element number 4 is about assessing physical and mental well-being indicators. This is the point that we get to when we are starting to bring well-being and safety in to fit together and to flow throughout. So 1, 2, and 3 have primarily been about safety. We are now moving across to well-being, and by the end, we are going to have everything back in one place. So element 4 is to assess physical and mental well-being indicators. What data do you already collect that could be analysed as a wellbeing metric? Let me know in the chat. What data have you already got? Anything you can see on your screen? Sometimes people think they have good data, like in the culture surveys, the employee engagement surveys. And when I ask specifically, what wellbeing metrics do you get from that? They're really vague and general. It makes it really hard to build a strategy based on questions that are really vague. So what we do is a wellbeing audit that has in it physical health risks, mental health risks, and workplace wants and needs. It is very, very specific. You get a wellbeing report with all of the data. It's all benchmarked against the Australian guidelines. And then you get a wellbeing strategic plan included. So it will say, here are your risks. Here is the action that we recommend you take to build your wellbeing strategic plan. What we are now doing is we're bringing in your psychosocial risks that you have identified in your survey or in your focus groups, and we're bringing this entire strategic plan together into one place. So this is where your wellbeing and your safety blueprint become really important. EAP reports, you've got office vibe pulse surveys, you've got monthly happiness surveys, you've got pulse surveys, EAP, and return to work reporting. Fantastic. So bring anything that is relevant in when you are at this point of collecting your data. The other important piece for this, when you're doing a data-driven wellbeing program, is to continue to collect data in your feedback for every single event and every single resource that you build so that you can keep your program agile, flexible, completely up to date and dynamic all of the time. I'm very, very happy to welcome our second guest speaker, Carri McVicker. Hello, Carri.
Hi.
Hello, let me find you. Hi. Let me pop you up here so people can see you. Welcome. Nice to see you today. Thanks for joining us.
You too. Thanks.
We are up to element 4, assessing physical and mental wellbeing indicators. And Carri, you are the People Experience Manager from Nestlé, and you do this element really well and really consistently. So I just wanted to invite you today to share your journey with our audience.
Thank you. So for those, it's lovely to be on the call today. It's great to see you, Carli. I work for Nestlé. So Nestlé have presences right around the world. We're in Australia, New Zealand, in the islands, specifically here in Oceania. And we have a range of different environments that our people work in. So we have got head office, we've got factories, distribution centres, retail operations, out of home, and field sales. So we've kind of got a very broad spectrum. And what Carli asked me was to talk about what data we use to inform our plans and then how do we work with the different sites. And this is where we have a very wide range that we draw our data from. Everything from what Carli was talking about before, our culture and leadership surveys, EAP, we do psychosocial risk assessments, and we have a dashboard around that, which includes absenteeism and bullying and sexual harassment, things like that. We also keep an eye on things like exit surveys, health checks. So what are we seeing from the health checks that we have at our different sites, for example? Wellbeing audits that we do across our different sites, as well as feedback from different events and initiatives. So I feel like, Carli, I'm just going tick, tick, tick.
I agree.
So we keep an eye on all of that. And what that does is we'll either validate the direction that we're going in, or it gives us the opportunity to change that. So externally, we also look at a lot of external data, a lot of different reports, Mentally Healthy Workplaces report. I look at Super Friend report, for example. There's so many great things out there. And one of the things I also do is I lean on Carli for about what future trends or what's trending out there as well that we should be thinking about. And that kind of all informs the corporate approach in our strategy. And then what we do is we use our wellbeing audits to get a much more granular view about what is happening at our sites and what do our people value, and what is it that we need to be looking at to get the health outcomes that we've got in mind for our people and what we want for them. So our sites at timings of their own choosing, and it often depends on who our wellbeing champions are, will do one of those site audits so that they can come up with their site plan to support the corporate plan. And then as we do them across different sites, the other thing that we're doing is looking at where there might be commonalities. Where do we see things that we might be able to pick up and do something more as part of the corporate program, or we want to develop further? But it also can tell us what not to do. So one of our sites was going really hard on a no smoking campaign. And then we looked at the audit and I went, we've got like this many people who are smokers and this many people. So maybe that's a more of an individual piece than a big program to go across the whole site of about 400 or 500 people. So our sites do the wellbeing audits and use that to inform all of their site plans. And sorry, I made a couple of notes in here about what is it that came out of wellbeing audits that we've actually taken up. So what we've discovered is nutrition. People want to eat and better, that they also want to know more about nutrition. And Nestle being a health and nutrition, health and wellness company, it's really important that we support our people with that. So we're working with Carli on a flexible activation that can be a roadshow across our different sites in the different formats that they have available, whether it be we can get them in a room for 30 minutes or it's going to be an activation in the canteen. How will we make this work, and how do we make it sticky for our people? Another one that we have found is that across all of our sites, Fitness Passport keeps coming up. So it's like we must go and investigate this. So we've got work underway for Fitness Passport. One of the other pieces that we've picked up from sites, and some of the sites have done an activation around sleep, but we're starting to see more commonality coming around, because with safety, operating machinery, driving cars, it's really important that we do something. So that's another piece that's come out of the wellbeing audits to look at in future. So it doesn't just set the path now, but it really gives us things to be working for in future as well. Carli?
Thanks, Kerry. Questions for Kerry?
And what you can see down the bottom there of that slide is these are a number of our different wellbeing champions who have done the Championing Wellbeing in the Workplace course, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because you look after your wellbeing program from a centralized place, but you also allow really specific, customized bits and pieces, resources and events for each site. So when we've done the wellbeing audit for each of your 6 sites, they've kind of all come up with something different. So it means we can customize it right down to that level. Let me just jump into these questions while you're here, Kerry. Highly recommend Fitness Passport. It's a great program that has really helped our organisation. I agree, but I've got a lot of little local companies that actually just go to their local gym and talk about discounts and memberships. So that's a possibility as well. Can I ask how the wellbeing audit is conducted, survey or focus group? So we do this one in a survey model. So you just get the audit in a link and you send it out to all employees. Michelle, you're also looking at sleep. Would love to know what you came up with for Nestle. Kerry, are you doing sleep as a topic?
Yeah, we're doing sleep as a topic. So we'll be looking at doing a webinar. There's also a toolbox talk. Carli has really great resources like the talk tracks and things like that. So we're going to put together an activation where the sites can then just pick the bits and pieces that they would like to do, whether they do a toolbox talk or a talk track. We will do a general webinar where people can get online there. What we'll also probably run is have the opportunity to have a quiz to see if they can answer the questions. If they get that, they go into the draw to win a weighted blanket. One of our sites, so it's flexible for the sites to choose the elements of the activation that will work for them and for their people. The other piece is then there's articles that will go into the newsletters across the month. And our EAP has got a really great module on sleep. So it's directing people to that through QR codes. So we just sort of put together a big comms pack for everybody.
So many things. Thank you.
Yep.
Can everyone answer this question from Manisha? How do you tackle survey fatigue? I know as a group, you're all going to have some fantastic ideas out there. The one I heard from Julia at the start about having your team leaders say, I give you permission to take 5 or 10 minutes now to do this. That is key, particularly if you're in a kind of production or factory setup. Kerry, any suggestions from you on fatigue of surveys?
Yeah, it sounded like from what I talked about, we actually survey our people a lot. We actually don't. So we do generally the big one at the start of like once a year, if you like. And then where there's an opportunity to layer up, we layer up because we only can get our people off the production line for a certain amount of time. So if we're going to hit them with something, we're going to make it worth their while. The key thing is getting back to people with the results, like making sure you get back to people with the results. Unfortunately, survey fatigue is just the way of the world. Every single time you go shopping, you get asked for feedback, and it gets really boring. But it's really powering up your leaders to be able to drive it and to invest in it. And part of the messaging for us is always, if you don't give us the feedback, then nothing will change. So, and our people are, I think we're kind of lucky here at Nestle, is our people aren't exactly backwards in coming forwards with their feedback. We get a lot of feedback. We sometimes get too much feedback.
Thank you, Kerry. We're going to hear from Leanne in a minute just about, I think when you do your survey, the critical part is you have to respond really quickly. You need to be out the next week or within a really short period of time and saying, we heard you and here's what we're doing. Here's a little thing we can give you straight away. Here's a medium term and here's a long-term thing. Yeah. If people don't feel heard and like you're actually listening to them, they're going to stop doing your surveys altogether. So that is actually part of our communication plan when we give you the strategy after you've done your wellbeing audit. It's what can we do this week that is really, really quick. There's no questions in the chat. I just want to say a big thanks to Kerry. So good to hear your story. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We are on to elements number 5 and 6. No other questions in there. Excellent. I just saw Leanne jump on. I know you've got a very busy day, Leanne, so thank you for jumping on at this time. Let me introduce element 5 to you. So let's have a look in the workbook. We are now on page 3. Element 5 is to promote positive mental well-being. So when we are building a mental health strategic plan and as we are working through your blueprint, promoting positive mental well-being is sometimes the part I see people jump to. You know, this is let's do yoga, let's do mindfulness. This is the easy stuff to implement. What I want to emphasize with element 5 is to focus on your top physical and mental health risks, your workplace wants and needs, and your psychosocial risks. So promoting positive mental well-being still needs to be data-driven. So make sure you select the topics to meet the unique needs of your employees. I've asked Leanne to come and speak on this because they've done such a brilliant job of really promoting positive mental well-being based on the data. Some examples of protecting lifestyle factors: micro breaks, healthy eating. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about support networks, boundaries, recovery, lots of different things you can come up with in terms of actions. Building a wellbeing calendar that includes both your wellbeing and your safety focus areas. See how this now brings both wellbeing and safety together in one place. We're bringing your psychosocial risks, we're bringing your action plan to protect people, we're bringing in your wellbeing data, and now we're going to build a wellbeing calendar that includes both. It includes your wellbeing and your safety focus areas. All of the wellbeing tools you can see on the right-hand side, we are going to send you straight after this workshop. So you're going to get all of these sent straight to your inbox, and they will actually help you to build your wellbeing program and build safety into it at the same time. Element number 6 is to customize to meet unique needs. It is super, super important that we meet people where they are. A forklift driver and an accountant need different things to feel safe and well. So an example of tailoring delivery to your teams could be on-site, online, on demand. It could be conferences, bringing in like a town hall, an all employee meeting or gathering. It could be supplementing with short videos and key messages. Kerry talked about the talk track. So we usually supplement all of our events with a 5-minute video and a talk track so that team leaders who are running toolbox talks and running check-in meetings actually know the words to use to reiterate the key messages of health and well-being, and continually collecting data to stay agile. Before I hand over to Leanne, I just want to share there is a variety of different ways you can fund. You can do it fully funded, you can do it subsidized, and you can also do employee pay models. I'm super excited to welcome Leanne here today to share her case study from Provision, who is going to show us an example of how they built their wellbeing program, but also how well you have actually customized to meet the needs. Good morning, Leanne.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for letting me come along today. So I've just come from one meeting into another, so I've got to get into the headspace.
Thank you for
I've
being
been
here.
breathing.
Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Just a little bit about what we do at Provision. So we are a membership organisation, a small team, but we are supporting more than 450 or 440 members. I think we're on 444 nationally. We provide a range of different services. We assist these small businesses, which are optometry practices. So the optometry practices are retail, but health service providers. They can range from a 2 to 3 team service delivery, delivering optometry services to their patients, to a group of practices. So they can be small teams and large teams. My department is people and culture, and we complement the range of services that Provision provide to these members. We provide recruitment, but we also do learning development and general HR advice. Through our delivery of services, we really do hear a lot of information. We were getting a lot of feedback from our members and our team indicating that there was some real need around wellbeing. Our L&D service, as an example, which is we provide a learning management system that has anytime access. We were finding people were tapping into anything that was related to soft skills, but balance, workplace wellbeing, things that we were seeing engagement. Our face-to-face in-person events, we held an event that had the highest representation of attendance, and it was all about resilience. And it was Julie Cross. I'm not sure if anyone has seen that, but she is amazing. But we had so many people come along, and so we realised that there was a real need. So we explored that further through feedback, and we were getting constant anecdotal evidence that our members were feeling burnt out. They were struggling with managing their teams, recruiting the best talent, juggling the work-life balance, all of the things. They were sacrificing their own well-being to manage their teams. So strategically, as we are a business that reports to a board that's also got Optometry Australia looking, overseeing what we do. We have a strategic direction, and one of the strategic drivers for this period and leading into the next period was actually providing additional wellbeing resources to our members. So we reached out to Carli. And one of the things that we've been doing as a support to women in optometry was providing a specific group for women in optometry. We reached out to Carli initially to potentially provide us with a keynote speech, and it actually just started the journey, didn't it, Carli? So we then went back a step and realised that in order to provide information to this group, we needed to actually, and we also all reached out to Carli for potentially some additional resources for our members that they were needing. But we realised Carli actually helped us to understand that we really needed to understand the data. We needed to gather some data and understand what were the critical pain points for our members, that what they were struggling with. And we launched a survey to our members. It was held over a 4-week period, and we reinforced that with comms. Sorry, I just forgot the previous speaker's name, but that comms pack's really important. So referencing the communication of the survey, the benefits of that, what we were going to do with that data, how we were going to then respond with the resources and what were our plans. So we started that. And over that period, I think we reached out initially in December last year, and I think by March we'd completed the survey. That was the plan. And it was really interesting data. So we were able to then, and I hope I'm going okay for time, Carli. So we certainly had the correct information to present to the Women in Optometry breakfast, which is being held this weekend. Very excited to speak to our members. But we've actually created some e-learning modules with the help of Carli that represent resources specifically for those key pain points. And there were a number, but we've gone to the top 10, and we are actually providing a 10-module program to our members. We also have a webinar coming up around psychosocial safety management. And we are also continuing to embark on that journey and aligning our wellbeing calendar internally with the strategy plan and updating our wellbeing strategy plan. So they're all the things that we're doing and continuing to work through that process. I hope I've touched on everything, Carli.
Thank you, Leanne. That's fantastic. Jump into the chat, everybody, and pop your questions in for Leanne. It wasn't until I was building this slide that I realised under element 6, we always say to new clients, okay, let's talk about delivery. We've got on-site, we've got online, we've got on-demand, and we've got conference. And you have actually done all 4 in the first year, because you've got such a diverse member base and so many different access points. So you've really just taken everything to people where they are, which is a really critical element of getting engagement for people, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we've really tried to, one thing we've added on to our resources are podcasts so it's another way of what we're finding, some members don't actually have the time to listen to or attend a webinar. They may not have time to do a module, which we're really reinforcing, and we actually communicate. Our communication plan is reinforcing those modules on a monthly basis, and all of the different variety of channels that they could access. But we thought we'd also overlay a podcast schedule that complements the content, so that there's another way. If you're walking, you can listen to a podcast and you can access the same information. So we're always doing that. Yeah.
There's a question here for you, Leanne. How did you get the wellbeing, safety, and HR teams to all align on the key topics to focus on?
So we work, it's a bit of a unique service offering. So I understand that question coming from an environment in my past that can struggle getting that alignment. I'm lucky that the wellbeing and safety all sort of fall under my umbrella, so I can actually coordinate that effectively. However, critical to the success of this is collaborating with our team that are speaking directly to members on a day-to-day basis. So I think echoing the previous reference, it is about getting the leaders on board. So it is that constant review. I talk at the full team meetings. We have there's constant channels that we're always trying to reinforce the opportunity and to gather support, and it's got to come from the top down. I think that support has got to be reinforced, because it's actually a requirement. And we're all, for the persons controlling the business units, we have to really make sure that we're reinforcing what's available.
And it's giving members what they want. Like, you're very
absolutely
on the data. Like, we have to listen to what people are telling us, and then we give them. So that example, Sharon's got a question: who built your e-learning program? That little piece you can see on the screen, wellbeing module calendar. We built that here at Corporate Wellbeing Hub 100% based on the data. So we did the wellbeing audit with you, and we said, here are the top 10 requested topics, and you literally went, right, we can do 10 this year. Let's start and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we just built it straight off the data.
Yep.
I think that's all the questions. Thank you, Leanne. Really appreciate you being here today.
No worries. It's a pleasure. I'll stick by till the end, if that's okay.
Please do. Thank you so much. And we are heading into element number 7. We have Michelle Bartlett coming to join us for the final element of your blueprint. So let me grab the workbook. We are now on page 4 of your workbook on element 7. The final and very important element, because it's one I see missed all the time, which is kind of what I consider wellbeing programs that are a launch it and leave it approach. They do all the work, they build it all, they send it all out, and then they do nothing. And sometimes people don't turn up when you do that. So element number 7 is to engage employees from the ground up with wellbeing champions. So what I am going to give you are the tool that I'm going to give you to help you set this up, if you don't have wellbeing champions already, is the expression of interest template. We're going to send this out to you by email at the end of the session. It has criteria in there that is actually going to show you how to do the expression of interest. It's got the words to pop in the email, but it also has the really important selection criteria. And the selection criteria is what is going to make sure you pick the right people to be your wellbeing champions, who can share success stories, who can motivate peers, people who have got capacity, people who have got capability, people who are highly influential, really good role models, really happy to say to their peer, hey, let's come along to this new wellbeing event we've got happening tomorrow. So this is the ground up approach that is highly, highly successful. I would like to introduce you to Wellbeing Champion with Unwavering Confidence. In your workbook, the very final section is called Wellbeing Champions. I want you to write in there, who are your wellbeing champions? Is it you or is it other people? Who are the wellbeing champions in your workplace? If you are putting your hand up and you're saying, yeah, I want to be this person at work, I want to be a wellbeing champion, but you're not sure how to do that, maybe you're lacking in confidence, I would like to introduce you to our training program. This is our Champion Wellbeing with Unwavering Confidence training program. And what it is a 6-part online program. So we give you 6 online modules. You can dive into the course and have a look and learn the information on demand. It has 6 live fortnightly workshops. So you come in with me and with the cohort and we actually discuss and we brainstorm and we go into breakout rooms and go through each of the sections. So you have small group discussions. There's a pilot assignment and you get ongoing support from me and from the cohort. We are we are opening enrollments now for our next course that is starting on the 22nd of July. So we've got a little bit of time to enroll and get everybody sorted. I'd love to invite Michelle to the call. Michelle is actually a participant. Actually, I can see Michelle on that photo. Michelle's right in the middle there. When we did a feedback survey on the program, Wellbeing Champions said their confidence had gone up to 92% on how they can be a wellbeing champion. So I'm going to hand over to Michelle Butler to come and share her experience at Burwood Council of setting up wellbeing champions in their workplace. Good morning to you, Michelle.
Hi, thanks, Carli. Thanks for having me. I was listening to you talk about the EOI template. I can't wait to see that. We didn't have that when we started. That would be really helpful. So I'll just give you a bit of context about Burwood Council. So we're a small metropolitan council in Sydney. Physically, we only cover about 7 hectares, but it's a very densely populated area. We've got about 180 staff. We've got 3 main physical work sites, but we also have a whole lot of outdoor work sites, parks and places like that. We've got quite a mix of staff. We've got corporate staff in the office. We've got outdoor teams. We run an aquatic centre. We run a library. We have parking officers out on the street. We have compliance teams, and we run a whole lot of facilities. And we also run big events as well for the community. So a mix of people, different types of work. We've got shift workers. We've got lots of casual staff. And even though we're small, we have the same obligations as every other council out there. We just don't have the same resources. So everybody is stretched, but very, very passionate. And I think the executive, we were quite lucky because the executive are the ones that said we really need to set up some kind of wellbeing program to support our people. So they called for volunteers to become champions. We had 7 volunteers. None of them were from the work health and safety or the HR space. We're from all different, very, very busy parts of council, but they were all very passionate about wellbeing. That's where I would like to see the EOI template, because I think some of us didn't realise what we're in for. So yeah, we had the advantage of the support from our executive from the start, but we kind of thought, oh, that would be it. They're on board and it will be fine. But there is ongoing a lot of checking back with them, and they often want to put their spin on things. And there's a lot of diplomatic negotiation to get to that point. We were told up front we'd have funding. It took a long time for someone to actually tell us what that dollar figure was, but we got there in the end. We started by doing an introductory session with Carli, where she ran us through what is a wellbeing champion and how does that all work. We all then went and did mental health first aid training together, which was quite a confronting experience. And I think as a team, that was a good thing to go through. And then, of course, we did Carli's longer program. Coming out of that program, one of the activities you do is to prepare a program. For us, we did mental health month activities in October last year. And because we had 7 of us in the program, we had a whole lot of activities. And then we very foolishly tried to roll them all out, which was way too much for us and for our staff. But it did spike a bit of interest in what's this Wellbeing Champion stuff all about. Of course, we didn't have any data at that point, so we then launched a survey. We had a lot of wellbeing initiatives in place, and some were going well, but some weren't hitting the mark. We'd fallen for the put on a yoga class thing and have 2 people turn up, and it clearly wasn't going to be good use of resources. So we launched our survey. We only had 22% response rate, but it's a reasonable sample size for an organisation that hadn't been asked about this stuff before. The big stats we got were around how people self-assess their wellbeing at the moment, so we can kind of measure against that. The big challenging areas were mental health issues, so anxiety and depression, physical health issues, and then we kind of drilled down into how physically active they were, what kind of activities they thought we could deliver. Sleep was a big one, and work-life balance. We also asked them about what their barriers were, like time for most of them is the main one. And we wanted to get some feedback on our existing programs, the things we'd done before. Like, we were assessing some of them as not great, but we wanted to have that based on our staff's opinion. We asked them how they wanted us to communicate with them, what kind of activities they would want us to do. And then we kind of finished our survey with a bit of a call to action to actually encourage them to get involved either as a champion or just in one-off activities, or if there's a particular skill you want to bring or a particular activity you think we should deliver, can you help us with it? We then use that information and we use Carli's calendar, which is very, very helpful, to develop a year-long program, just 1 activity a month. We learned from Mental Health Month last year that it wasn't good for our mental health. And we thought that was all very manageable. But then it all started unraveling a little bit. Not because anyone wasn't committed anymore, but the usual things that happen. One person got a job somewhere else, a couple of people went on parental leave. Suddenly we're left with 4 champions who are incredibly stressed with staff shortages in their teams and just going, oh God, oh, it's that time again, and we haven't delivered what we thought we would deliver. And at that point, I really thought the whole thing was going to end. But I am also a champion on another group here in Burwood, which we called the Engagement Champions. They had formed about 2 years earlier to do ground up development of our purpose, vision and values for our organisation. And we had been out there engaging with staff. We weren't doing anything formal like surveying. We did a whole lot of interactive activities and workshops to kind of develop the purpose, vision and values. We had done that. We had launched it. We were now working on embedding it. And I found in both champion groups, I was having the same conversations. We were coming up with the same initiatives, and it's like, hang on a minute. I think maybe we've got a solution here. The champions were losing members as well. They were formed in a different way. They weren't volunteers. They were voluntold, as we say. And once the values were launched, they all went, right, I'm out. I'm too busy. And the people who were left behind were the ones who really had the energy to do these things, who perhaps they're in the less senior jobs and they have a bit more scope to kind of arrange their time for these things. And I thought, oh, maybe we can harness this. And so we merged. Again, we had to go through executive to get approval for that. And they were a little bit resistant at first, but we got there. So now we've got a new lease on life. We've rebranded as the Wellbeing and Culture Champions. We've got a whole range of programs. We're still doing our once a month wellbeing initiatives that we did, but we've also supported it with what we call Wednesday WAC, which is Wellbeing and Culture. So every Wednesday something happens. It might just be a bit of information goes out, might be a video. So they're working on a Burwood TV thing where we showcase someone or something every week. Today is massage day. So after I finish here, I'm going off to have a chair massage. And I've seen lots of blissfully happy people today. Last week we did a pizza day. In our survey, it came up lots of people wanted opportunities for just a little bit of social interaction. So council funded everyone's lunch last Wednesday and they all got together, which was great. Next month, we want to focus on sleep and addressing stress. So I was jotting down lots of notes from Kerry's advice. We've got, we'll be giving out little lavender shower bombs as part of that to kind of help people. This is what you might want to do before you go to bed. And we're about to install a table tennis table in our wellbeing room, which is what we call our exercise room. I think we're not allowed to call it a gym, even though there's lots of gym equipment there. That's kind of, people lamented the loss of things like, oh, we used to have a regular football team and a regular activity, but no one has time for that. So this is like a way of getting short, quick social engagements with a little bit of activity away from your desk. So I guess my takeaways, initial support from your executive is critical, but maintaining that support is going to be a constant activity. They want to see your stats too. They want to know what you're achieving. Champions work best when they volunteer and really want to be there. It's okay to tap someone on the shoulder if it's a one-off event, and we still do that. If someone makes a suggestion, we go, well, you're it, come on, we'll help you. But as an ongoing, they really need to be willing to make an ongoing commitment. A mix of champions with different roles and different capacities means you can kind of achieve almost anything and you can ride out all those rough periods. Early on in the program, I used to drive a lot of things, but I had my entire team leave in the 1 month. And so I had to go, nope, not me at the moment. But I am now working on a book club. So that will be my next activity. You also don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's likely plenty of existing events you can tap into. So you can use Carli's program, Carli's calendar, or we found we could use things that were already going on. So we already did Are You OK Day. So we just went, let's put a wellbeing lens on it. We already did flu vaccinations. So we went, well, we can promote that wider. So we're just tapping into things that we already have. Having the data is essential because it can show you things you didn't realise and give you ideas. Also, be realistic with your program. You might want to do a lot, but you've got to start small and then build over time. Be open to any opportunity to hook a well-being lens into other events or to completely pivot to make the program work. So that's a little bit about our experience over the last year. I'm glad we're still here and we have a really good functioning wellbeing and culture team.
Great tips. Thank you, Michelle. This is really resonating with everyone on the call. Comments in the chat. This is such a familiar story. Yes, this is the hesitation we have had. Committee fatigue is a real thing. It's always the same people putting their hand up. So a couple of pieces on that. The tenure of wellbeing champions is really important. I would cap it at 2 years because the first year they kind of get in, they've got ideas, they're learning. The second year they really implement well and then redo the expression of interest and bring in a new batch so that everyone's got lots of energy and capacity. The other thing is the expression of interest selection criteria is critical so that you have the right people in the room. The roles and responsibilities are actually listed in the expression of interest template, and the roles and responsibilities do not include writing the entire strategy and the entire plan. I know that's the way you guys did it when you first started, but my recommendation is to have one person, possibly the Michelle in your workplace, or whoever your wellbeing lead is, to come and do the Wellbeing Champion course, follow these steps to actually set up your wellbeing and your safety program. And when you do your expression of interest, your Wellbeing Champions are just there to advocate, to promote, to engage, because we know when we give them lots of responsibility and lots of scope to create and innovate, it's really, really hard to get stuff done. Huge thank you to Michelle for coming and sharing your journey with us today. Really appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you. Okay, so I have a very special offer that I would like to give everybody today, and that is on our Champion Wellbeing with Unwavering Confidence training program. Enrollments are now open. It's $900 for 12 people to come and join our cohort. Our chosen charity partner is Oz Harvest, so $5 from every enrolment goes directly to Oz Harvest to provide 10 meals to the people who need it most. Oz Harvest is founded by Ronnie Khan in 2004, and they have got food at their core, delivering food to people who need it most. What happens in the training program is you get the 6-week online training program, but for the first time, I am offering 6 months of group coaching included in your enrollment. So what that means is you can come and do your training program. It's over a 12-week period, and then your coaching actually goes on over that summer. So there's all different coaching dates available. It means you can kind of jump in as you are implementing, come back to the coaching session and ask questions. So enrollments are now open. You can claim it on your tax if you didn't know that, as a self-education tax deduction before June 30, so that's Monday, or we've left it at $900 so that it fits within the L&D training budget. So if your work is going to pay for this, that should well and truly fit into that budget for you. Let me just jump into the chat, see if there's questions in here. Yes, I will do that. Kerry, is it common for the safety leads to also be the wellbeing leads, or do people have separate resources? It is common for smaller businesses, Kerry, which is where a lot of people I find outsource either wellbeing programs or audits or things to make it a little bit easier. Yes, Rachel, I'll jump into the course in a moment. And then you have a safety lead and a wellbeing and return to work lead. I think it's often combined. It's so true. These are all the triple headers, right? You have 76 services. Would a wellbeing champion program benefit me? What do you mean 76 services, Sharon? I'll let you fill in that question and I'll come back to you. So this is the money shot photo for everybody. On your workbook, we are on the final page, page 5. It actually has all of your internal stakeholders. Here is your entire wellbeing and safety blueprint with all of the internal stakeholders required to set it up. If you are doing this on your own right now, stop. Go and rally the troops, go and bring in a team of people from work health and safety, HR, HSRs, L&D, wellbeing, executive, all the people that you need. If you need support in any of these steps from 1 through to 7, our team are ready to support you. Today you've met myself, you've met Bill Carson, you saw Lyndall on the call. We've got a team of 10 facilitators right across Australia. So if there's any of these points you need some support with, please reach out. We're happy to help you. Jump into your internal stakeholder page and just make some notes on there. Maybe you're going to tick all of those 7 boxes. Maybe you're going to share the load with HR, work health and safety. Just make some notes of these people, or take a photo of the screen right now, or take a screenshot. This is kind of the money shot that is going to reduce your stress levels, right? Where we bring in all the roles and responsibilities so that wellbeing and safety flow right through your entire organisation. I'm going to ask you now, which of these 7 elements, or which action, oh, why did my screen disappear? Are you ready to start? So can I just ask you to open the camera on your phone, scan the code you see on the screen. Just let us know where you're up to. Which of these points are you ready to start with? 1 through 7. Maybe you're at 1, maybe you're at 7. Let's have a look and see where you're at. Lyndall, or Bill, can I just ask you to let me know, can you see all of the results popping up on the screen, or do you need me to refresh?
I can't see any there.
Yeah, probably need to refresh, Carli.
Thank you. Let me just go back. How does it look now?
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Okay, which action are you ready to start? We've got 67% at number 1 so far. I'm just going to go back and refresh again because I don't think it's refreshing live on the screen. Sorry about me flicking slides.
69. With that point about a lot of people, haven't started yet and thinking about the People at Work survey, reach out and talk to us because we can sort of give you some insights and guidance around that.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Sharon, thanks for just explaining what you mean. So 76 kindergartens or childcare services. You were thinking it would benefit me doing this course and I should wait and see more. Sharon, can you shoot me an email? We just want to make sure we're really targeted when you've got so many different services to find out how many champions you need. General rule of thumb would kind of be 1 per location, or if you've got outdoor or indoor, or if you've got operational or office, you want to have at least 1 champion in each of those kind of departments. So sometimes I see companies with 3 or 6 or 12, depending on how many you've got. Shoot me an email. Let's have a really specific conversation about that. Last refresh for this, we have got 74% saying you are up to number 1. Deeply understand your people. So your action in your workbook should be to start with your audit as soon as possible so that you can start to move through. And we've actually got responses all the way through to number 7. Some are already engaging employees from the ground up, which is fantastic. So no matter where you are today, everybody is going to receive all of these tools. This is the wellbeing tools that are coming to your inbox today. You're going to get the health dates calendar. I think that was the one Michelle mentioned. It's got all the health awareness dates on it, so it makes it really easy to build your calendar. You'll get the EOI template, you'll get the menu, you'll get all the free bits and pieces to help you build your wellbeing and safety calendar. This, as a reminder, is your special offer for the training program. You don't have to figure all of this out on your own. So let me tell you the topics that we include in the training program. Each week, we deep dive into a specific topic. So one might be physical health and well-being. One is mental health and well-being. One is looking at the workplace specific needs, things like burnout, things like psychosocial risks. 1 week is actually your pilot assignment, where we heard from Michelle, you actually get to go and build and test out the new skills and the new framework that you've learned. And you build either 1 wellbeing resource or 1 small wellbeing event. And you actually come back into the course and you let us know how it went. So it's a really easy way. You can kind of run a pilot in a safe way. You've got the support of all of us. And then you've got your 6 months of coaching as well. In that 6 months, that is where we get feedback, we get data, we make sure we've got everything you need to make adjustments. We want to make sure you can use your L&D budget right now. So if you've got up to $1,000. A lot of the training budgets are up to $1,500. You know, we use it or lose it in the wellbeing world. So before June 30, if you can jump in and use your training budget for your enrollment, I would highly recommend doing that. These are a couple of people who had joined our program. Let's see what they said. A great way to learn about workplace wellbeing and to gather ideas from other workplaces. Thank you for this opportunity to learn and grow my skills and confidence. These skills are not just for work, but also for my personal life. So that's a little bonus. It was easy to follow and loads of information, but very simplified. Interaction with other workplaces and sharing knowledge was good. So actually the breakout rooms and the small discussions were one of the biggest benefits people found from doing the program, because they got to explore things, share ideas, get a little bit of feedback. What I liked most was having open conversations and discussions, implementing and rolling out the wellbeing program. How satisfying and rewarding. I would love you to join me in our upcoming program. It is starting on the 22nd of July. If you are keen, scan the code, have a little explore. It's definitely not for everyone, but it is for you if you are wanting to put your hand up and say, I want to be a wellbeing champion. If you want to build your confidence, your skills, your influence, and your mindset, please connect with us at Corporate Wellbeing Hub. I've popped all the socials and connection points up on the screen. If you're ready to dive into the training program, scan the code. We have got a couple of minutes remaining for Q&A. Let me bring Bill back up here so we can answer your questions. Feel free to pop them in the chat and we will do that now. How frequently does the program run? If you can't make 22nd of July, would there be one starting at another date? Charlotte, yes, there is not another one scheduled for 2025. We are filling July at the moment. There will be more in 2026, or if we do squeeze another one in this year, you'll see it in our newsletter that comes out every month. But at the moment, this is the only one we are running. This is our second one for the year for 2025. Any questions for Bill and I? We've got 3 minutes remaining. We're really happy to open for Q&A. You can ask us about anything from the entire blueprint, elements 1 through to 7. Feel free to ask your questions now. We're happy to answer those for you. Thanks, Antoinette, Megan, Clint. Great. Glad it was helpful for you. Any questions from the group today? I hope some of you are thinking, right, this is my moment. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to join the program, learn some more information, really start to make a difference about wellbeing at work. I would love to do that. Love to see you. Come and join us in the program. That would be wonderful. Practical session, great program. Thank you. Thank you for all your thank yous. That's good. I'd like to say a special thank you to our 4 guest speakers who came in today. Julia, Kerry, Leanne and Michelle. It was so great to have you here today. So much better hearing from real life case studies, isn't it? You can ask questions, you can explore. Thanks guys for coming. Really appreciate you being here and sharing with us today. It was lovely to have you here. Thanks, Alistair. Oh, you joined us at the Workplace Health and Safety Show in Melbourne. Great. Lovely to meet you. Glad you came and met us there. It was such a big show this year. Bill, we had, what, 600 people come and meet us at the stand?
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic.
So it was so busy. Such a good show. Highly recommend it. Thanks, Rachel, Kerry, Manisha, Laura. Thank you, Alison. Grace Marie, thanks for giving us the structure coat hanger to build our wellbeing wardrobe of offerings. How beautifully articulated.
Must be in the
Thank you, Grace.
clothing industry.
Yeah, thank you, Grace Marie. That is beautiful. I want to thank everyone for joining us today and thank you for your interaction. It was lovely having you here for 2 protected hours that we had together. Please reach out and connect with us. We would love to talk to you. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.